Hello everybody, today I have a members request for you. This video was asked for by one of my Patreons, and they basically wanted to see all of my Warcry Warbands. I've been playing now for, just over 2 years? Since the beginning of Warcry 2nd edition. I have amassed a whole bunch of warbands during that time. I've brought a whole bunch of factions to events. So today we're going to look at them. We're going to look at the warbands themselves, and I'm going to tell you a little bit of the story about each one. We're going to go through some of the conversions that I've done, and hopefully it'll be something interesting for you to check out and maybe try out yourself. This was the very first warband that I ever took to an event. I'd played maybe 2 games of Warcry before this particular event. I decided to bring Nighthaunt. We got the Allied Warwolf in there. There is also a Dreadblade Harrow that we're going to see a bit later on, because I have played Nighthaunt on and off over the last few years. This did pretty well. I really loved this Vargolf conversion. We used the body of Laukavai, the vampire centaur from Soulblight Gravelords. I also used the Vargskier from the Cursed City miniatures. Basically used the Vargskier's head, the Vargskier's shoulders, completely resculpted the back of the thing. It's on Laukavai's scenic base, so that's pretty fun. I wanted to do a Lady Alinda theme kind of force, so I used the Briar Queen. We swapped out her head for Lady Alinda's head, and we've got Lady Alinda's attendants that I used as Dreadscythe Harridans in this case. It was pretty cool. I really like this warband, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. This warband, I was doing an experiment in counter control, so I had to put this warband together. It's mainly Ossiarch Bone Reapers, very little in terms of conversions in this case. The only real thing I did was the Dreadblade Harrow that you see in the back. I used the White King's head to make a more interesting Dreadblade Harrow that kind of fit in with the rest of the thing. We are running the classic yellow color scheme of Musilion from back in Old Warhammer Fantasy, so I really like that. One thing that I did do though is I swapped out all of the weapons. I don't like their weird short stubby weapons, so I gave them all really cool, really long swords. Those swords are actually from the Bladegeist Revenant box set, and I think they really fit. I really like this. So the list, I said it was counter control. Basically, we were running OBR, all toughness 5, run into things, counter things to death. We're running those pieces from the Sons of Velmorn for some extra oomph and for all of their abilities, because at the time, and still to some extent now, they were just better Graveguard. I really like Sir Jedron. A lot of people hate on Jedron, but I love Jedron. He is the toughest skeleton in the world. Overall, I only played this warband once. I kind of got it out of my system. It's not really the style of warband that I like to play. I found it just too slow, and you sit there and you don't really do all that much, whereas I prefer these really fast, really mobile warbands. But it was right at the beginning. It did relatively well. I played a lot of Rotmire Creed. I took them in 2 events, I think. 1, maybe 2 events. The idea was I wanted to run 3 bloated ones. I had to convert those guys. You only get enough pieces for 1 proper bloated one in the box, so I had to trawl through my bits box. You will see back there we've got the body of Epidermius. I use that with the bloated one net arm to make one of them, and the other one I tend to dip into the Blood Bowl sets quite a bit. So this is one of the Pestigors from Blood Bowl. I gave it an all new head from one of the carrion catchers, sculpted a little bit around the back just to hide things, and I think it came out pretty good. The 2 big pieces of this are the Rotworm and the Doomflea. I can't remember the name what I gave it at the time. Basically, I wanted to play something a bit faster, so I converted up one of the Duskrider Helamites, I think they're called, from Necromunda. I gave it the back of one of the Nurgle Plague Flies, put a guy on top of it, came out really well, really happy with that. And then the Rotworm is an example of a model that I basically sculpted from scratch. It was like the first ever model that I sculpted completely from scratch. Before then, I had dabbled a little bit in green stuff, doing things like patches, sculpting some very small pieces, but this was the first really big, really chunky thing. The thing weighs a ton because it's almost solid green stuff. I use it as a Mind Stealer Spheranx in my games, and I really like it. I think it came out pretty good. I think if I was doing it again, I could make it a bit cleaner, but overall, I think it really captures what I wanted to go for it. Okay, guys, we are almost there. Almost hit that goal for this year. 56% are still not subscribed to this channel. So come on, let's get in there. Let's hit those goals for this year. If you do want to throw some more support my way, you can join me here on YouTube. You can join me here on Patreon. You can join me over on Streamlabs. Either way, you are going to get to see behind the scenes content. You're going to get to see stuff before it's released, and you are going to have a little bit of a say into the kind of content that I create in the future. But regardless, if you are a new viewer or you're a returner, thank you very much for watching. Now, let's get back to the video. And of course, after Rotmire Creed, I went straight into Hunters of Huanchi. Huanchi's Claws. right? We've seen, I've got like a tutorial somewhere about how to convert more Huanchi's claws. Again, we're dipping into the Blood Bowl box to get more pieces for that, because the Blood Bowl box has those really cool head crests and the helmets. So that's basically it. You get normal chameleon skinks, you give them those helmets, give them the right weapons from the normal skinks brew, and voila, more Huanchi's claws. At the back there, you will see Kixie Taka, and as part of this warband, I converted up a whole lot of stuff. I played this warband for around about a year, and I went through so many different builds of Hunters of Huanchi to try and find the perfect list. I just ended up building a whole bunch of things and a whole bunch of extra things for the warband where the lists would change every other month. The big thing I built for this list is the coatl. I made it out of the base there, and the wings you'll see are from Yndrasta. The body is from an Achelian king. You slap a skink on top with a fancy thing, and that's basically it. That's how you make a coatl. You've got to shave down a whole bunch of the detail around the heads to make sure it's like properly snake-like, and you've got to fill in all of the spaces around those wings to make sure that everything fits. But I really like it. I like how the conversion came out. I like the flow of movement in the conversion. It looks like it's actually doing something and not just sitting there on that piece of rock. The other things that I did, I made a couple of Mizzen Masters. You've got the Mizzen Master that on the right-hand side, which is just basically the stock model, and then you've got the model on the left that I kind of converted to be more on theme. I love the Amazon models for Blood Bowl, so I wanted to use those, and I had a whole bunch of spare the Ripodons, Pterodons, whatever they're called, from Hunters of Huanchi. We put all that together in like a little diorama where she's jumping off of the Pterodon, off of the log with the bow and arrow. I quite like that. Of course, there's a variant of the list that I ran with Haskell, Hexbane, and Quiet Pock. And then the last thing at the front is a Aether Chemist. I ran the Aether Chemist for a couple of events. I was really happy with it. I love the 6 shots that it got. And then when Divine Blessings came in, you can boost that thing to strength 5. It may not have a massive damage profile. It's only 1-3, but it puts out a lot of shots. It can fire that in combat, and you can just hose down opponents with it. I really like it, and it was one of my favorite variants of this list. After Hunters, we played Wildercorps from one Hunters to another. What really drew me to Wildercorps, there aren't so many conversions. Well, there are conversions in here because you only get one double crossbow Trailblazer in the box. So I had to make a whole bunch more. You get enough crossbows in the box to make 3 Trailblazers with double crossbow. One is the stock model, and then you can turn 2 of the other guys into crossbow dudes. I got another crossbow Trailblazer off of eBay, put that all together, threw Calthea in there, got the Arbalist in there, +1 strength, start shooting things. You got the Lords, you got the dogs to do some interesting things. So I like this warband. I only played it actually once. Charles has played it a couple of times. I found that though it does way, way more damage than the Hunters of Huanchi, I prefer the Huanchi playstyle over Wildercorps Hunters. I like warbands, kind of tricky. They jump around. They kind of waste your opponent's actions. They play the maneuverability game very well. And I always found Wildercorps Hunters just to be too slow for what I like. But it's a good warband. It's nice. I got this pack of like leaves. It's the only thing I can say. I think they're Army Painter leaves. And so you'll see on a whole bunch of those warbands, I kind of ran out of basing material somewhere in the middle of this year. So I had to put, you'll see a lot of leaves going on. Link to that warband is the Gorger Mawpack. I never played this one directly myself, but Charles played it. I wanted to build the Gorgers. I wanted to paint the Gorgers, but I wasn't really all super interested in playing them. So we threw Hrothgorn in there, tried to make it as competitive as we could make it. 6-man, it's good. It's a good list. It has its flaws. It is ultimately just a little bit too small. If I were redesigning this, I would probably lean more heavily into the Gorger with big club, give it the +1 attack blessing, and just let that punch things instead of running Hrothgorn and his boys. But it's kind of fun. There are some minor conversions in here. We got the Citadel Skulls pack that I used kind of all over the place. You got the big skull on the Gorger on the right-hand side. You got the skull mask on the clawback in the middle. That's kind of fun. But apart from that, again, lots and lots of leaves. Nothing super interesting, but I like it. I like how it came out. I kind of like the white Gorgers. My recipe for this white, by the way, Games Workshop, they do their white contrast paint. And what you want to do to stop that from pooling really badly is you want to mix that 1 part contrast paint with 4 parts of their contrast medium. And then it goes on really smoothly. You get all the shadows, you get all the highlights you want normally out of contrast paint, but you don't get the same pooling. I'm going to put a picture up. You can find this actually on my Instagram. I painted a whole bunch of cow aircraft from Aeronautica. I use the exact same mix, and then you get some really nice shading on those very flat panels without the pooling that contrast paint sometimes gives you. All right, after that, we went into Skaven. We're probably sitting on the middle of this year. I wanted to paint a Clan Pestilence army like forever. A Skabbix Plague Pack came out, and they are the best Pestilence models that Games Workshop basically do. This list went through a whole bunch of different iterations, hence all the stuff I converted for it. I've got a Storm Fiend in the back. I've got conversions for the entire Thricefold Discord. There's Vexmore in there, Lassavir, and the other one that I can't remember. I've got all sorts of things going on. Ultimately, I converted the basic guys just into Storm Vermin equivalents by giving them the right weapons. So they all have halberds, they all have shields dotted around the place. So that's really fun. The original version of this list was actually supposed to be Skabbik, Double True Blood, and or Storm Vermin. I think I've spoken about that a whole bunch of times now. So what I originally did is I converted a couple of Beastmasters. One is a Necromunda Beastmaster, and the other one is a Beastmaster from, I think, Untamed Beasts. I gave them the right weapons. They got the whips to represent the longer range and the pulls. They came out really cool. They just never ended up being used. But you know what? Given how people are playing today, I think that list has more merit, so I might go back to it and revisit it at some point. And of course, I went back into the Blood Bowl Nurgle box, converted up like a Nurgle kind of Pestilence-ish Vexmore style model out of one of the big old bloated ones. I really like this model. I think it's super characterful. I think it came out really nicely. It does have a tail in there. They all have tails because they're all rats. You just can't see it from this angle. Then, of course, after that, we went into way more Nighthaunt. This was the most recent version of the list I'm actually really happy with. A lot of people like to use Wielder of the Blade. I don't like to use Wielder of the Blade because I don't think it's tanky enough. So I went for a Krulgas Cruciator in this case. We got the Hexwraith at the back. The Hexwraith is actually made from, well, all my horses in my Nighthaunt army, which you will have seen like at the beginning, I might put some pictures up now, they are all the Dreadblade Harrow kit. They were easy to build, and I managed to get a lot of them for a very cheap price. So all my Spectral horses basically come from that kit. You combine that with the basic normal side guys from the starter set. I can't remember their names off the top of my head. And that's how I got my Hexwraith. And similarly, this is the Dreadblade Harrow that I built for the other warband I was bringing right at the beginning 2 years ago. We were still running a Linda theme, so I decided to make one out of a Mindworn Banshee. She's kind of floating there in place. There's a very thin connection point onto that horse. I really like it. I really like the sense of movement it's got. The lines of the horse really fit with the Banshee, and I'm really happy with it. The hero itself, the thing I use as a Krulgas Crusader or anything else that I need on that base size, is actually the Necromancer from the Coven Throne or Mortis engine. Gave it a key, gave it some locks, so that came out really well. Those stairs, I actually used Instamolds to mold myself a set of stairs from that model, just so I didn't have to tear apart that model itself. They came out real well. I got a whole bunch of nice detail in there. The chain rasps are just a bunch of fancy chain rasps. I think some of them are from the Briar Queen, some are normal ones, but, you know, they look interesting. Finally, of course, with a terrible picture, because I'm taking a picture through a pane of perspex, is a Tarantulos Brood. This is the terrarium that I made. I've still got more stuff to do with this. I want to add spider's webs, so I'm thinking of different ways to do that. I plan on taking the Brood again in February. I've got an event, so I plan to finish the terrarium for that. It's basically one box Tarantulos Brood. All of the spiders are all made out of Instamold. Instamold is a really, really cool thing. I think Green Stuff World used to do it, but I don't know if they actually sell it anymore. It's kind of this like opaque putty that you put into hot water. It softens up, and then you can make push molds out of it. So that's basically what I did. I made all my spider swarms, made push molds of those spider swarms, and then smudge of green stuff later, and you have a lot of spider swarms. So you can totally do this for yourself. It's really easy to do. All of the plant material, I really love this basing material. There's a company called Epic Basing that does all sorts of things, these plants included. So I would recommend them. They now have cheaper shipping to the UK. They're based in the States, but I think they've done a deal or something. They've got suppliers, and it's a lot better for people to get than the tree trunks that I've got going on are basically just aquarium pieces, as well as the very large leaves. So I really like the way this came out. I'm excited to finish it and see what other people think when I take it up to Warhammer World. Okay, and that's it. That is all of the warbands I have made for Warcry so far. I've got another Skaven warband in the works. Warhammer World, as of the time of this recording, has just released that they're going to be doing another event in March. So I think I want to bring Skaven to that. I'm not going to be bringing Rat Ogres. It's all going to be like Skaven Swarm, so that's going to be really fun. I got some things to paint up for that. I've got Spike Claws Swarm that I need to do. I think there's 4 models from that. I want to get some of the new Storm Vermin because I think they look super cool. I want to put some of those in there, and yeah, hopefully that'll be a nice another force to add to my stuff. But yeah, that's it. That's it from me for today. Thank you very much for watching. I've hoped that this kind of little walk through my warbands has been something that's interesting for you. If you want to see more stuff like this, more hobby side of things, I know I'm normally geared towards the match play side, but if you want to see more hobby and more kind of casual stuff, let me know. Let me know down in the comment section below. If you like it, like and subscribe. That's the end of the video. As always, I've been Icehan, this has been Off Mental Musings, and we'll see you next time.